What makes a game your absolute favorite? Enjoyment? Replayability? Overall quality? For me, the definition of a favorite game is something that no matter what, you can always pop in and enjoy. And for me, that game is Megaman X.
Hey friends, I'm Pragmatik and I like to talk about video games. And today, finally, we're going to talk about my favorite game of all time, Megaman X. To be honest, Megaman X has been covered to death, and I'm not really surprised. But now I want to turn to talk about why it's my favorite game of all time.
While the original Mega Man dominated the NES era, Capcom couldn't ignore that the overall amount of the Blue Bomber was making things a bit stagnant with the series. Capcom needed to do something new, something bold, something that would truly stand out on the powerful hardware that the Super Nintendo possessed. And while the original Mega Man would be featured in his own game with Mega Man 7, mostly with mixed reviews, Mega Man X would be a new installment into the Mega Man series, and a story that would see a jump in the Mega Man timeline. Dr. Light had just finished his newest creation, Megaman X. Though similar to Mega Man in appearance, his defining feature was the ability to think, feel, and make his own decisions. While this would be a scientific leap, Dr. Light knew the risk of having such a powerful creation, and decided to seal X away for 30 years. Despite this, it would be 100 years later when X would be discovered by Dr. Kane, and upon learning X's abilities, decided to create similar robots with X's features. These would come to be known as Reploids, and despite Dr. Light's careful planning, the worst outcome of these abilities came to fruition. Eventually, some Reploids made the choice to harm humans rather than help them. Reploids that acted in this manner were referred to as Mavericks. Now X, along with his friend Zero, set out to destroy the leader Mavericks as they pursue the greatest Maverick of them all, Sigma. With a new protagonist comes a new set of skills and abilities. Mega Man gameplay would be completely overhauled with the new addition of vertical slopes and wall jumping. This changed the left to right, up and down format to really encouraging the player to explore their environment and perform risks that would be discouraged in the original Mega Man games. Wider leaps, the ability to wall jump and explore pitfalls that might hold something more, and environments that encourage all kinds of exploration really changed how a Mega Man game plays. While there were secrets here and there in the original Mega Man, this usually required an item or utilizing Rush to reach out to out-of-reach areas. X does this lightly with needing certain abilities to reach certain things, but another major change to X is that a lot of his enhancements come more from his suit rather than his abilities he acquires from defeating bosses. A major reward for exploring each stage is usually getting a new upgrade to X's attire. This lands him features like an upgraded X-Buster, which allows him to enhance the abilities he gets from bosses, stronger armor that reduces damage, a helmet that breaks through rocks, and what is arguably the most important feature, X's upgrade allowing him to dash. The dash is what brings a major change to X as he's now able to leap farther, move faster, and is what is in my opinion the most important feature, allowing X to change course freely while in the air. X can always change his course, but dashing and changing direction really heightens the experience, and is something I feel is a pivotal difference between movement for Mega Man and movement for X. Also, the dash is the one upgrade that you can't skip. It's literally in the way of the stage, so the game wants you to have it and utilize it. And why wouldn't it? It's literally something that changes the flow of the game. Any review of Mega Man X will tell you that these game mechanics are the defining features of the game, and they would be right, because they are. But one major change I think is often overlooked is the bosses. Each Maverick boss is accompanied with their own battle style, environmental advantage, and even a bit of personality. And this to me is one of the biggest differences between the original and X. The original had environmental hazards like some platforms to work with or even spikes in a boss stage. But it's now shifted to more area-specific hazards like a conveyor belt that Flame Mammoth can change as he pleases, and a room full of thorns that Sting Chameleon can drop on X. Chill Penguin can change up the weather to make movement more difficult for X, encouraging the player to dash, which is the same stage you get the upgrade on. Yeah? You see what I'm saying? Everything in this game is well thought out. One similarity between both series is that every boss has a weakness, but the difference here is that the weaknesses are usually used as a major hindrance to the boss. In addition to major damage, using a boss's weakness disables them in one way or another. Using Boomer Kowanger's blade on Flame Mammoth removes his trunk, preventing him from using one of his abilities. Using Ice Shot on Spark Mandrill freezes him solid for a few seconds, and using Electric Spark on Armored Armadillo makes him lose his armor entirely, and to me personally, this makes these fights easy. But the way these fights play out differently if you don't use their weakness makes for a completely different challenge, one I think that the game actually encourages. Using your abilities is more often than not a free pass on the fight, but using your buster only leaves you with a whole new challenge. The best example that comes to mind is Spark Mandrill, arguably one of my favorite bosses to fight against, because he is the definition of a challenging fight. You see, if you only want to use his weakness, Ice Shot, then this fight is literally done in seconds. Not using Ice Shot will have you on your toes, as he can climb above you, use his sparks, and most devastatingly, use his punch to take off a third of your health if it connects. But if you keep your buster charged and time your shot just right as he punches, he'll be knocked off balance. This makes this fight a lot more fun and also plays into X's main theme of the game, getting stronger and unlocking his potential. The few scenes we have with X and Zero shows that X never feels like he's good enough to undertake the missions he does, but it's the encouragement he receives from Zero that makes him press on. And X becoming stronger is the major theme, something I think that is well showcased in fighting the bosses square on. The way they react to taking a powerful hit from X is just one of the boss's charms. Honestly, with the way they move, react to damage, and just chuckle when they land a hit, these are things that just never occurred in the original games. Mostly because they didn't have the memory to do all these extra features. But with X, they made it all feel so organic, despite being robots. Especially the way Chill Penguin chuckles when he hits you, little bit.
And like, why does everything actually laugh at you? You get hit once and everything's like, F, F, F. It's just really funny.
But when it comes to theming, there is no better example of this than Vile. Vile is the best representation of X's growth, from getting absolutely wrecked at the beginning of the story to finally getting that last shot in when you face him one-on-one. There is some debate on how much he's grown since seconds before Zero sacrificed himself to get Vile out of his right armor, but there is no denying that Vile, just as he is a challenge in himself. So the idea of X getting stronger is definitely not lost, and a great theme for the first game in the series. In fact, it's something you feel more in this game than in others. Exploring with X not only gets you better upgrades for your armor, but heart containers for your health and sub-tanks for refilling your health when things get dire. It really does help make you feel like that by the end of your journey, you have grown, you're much more than what you were, and through the boss battles and cutscenes, you feel that growth. And for a game made this long ago, that's theming done right.
This game is top-notch, and considering it's early Capcom, you really shouldn't be surprised. But it's just the amount of thought put into this game that really makes it stand out.
If gameplay and even the thematic qualities aren't enough to keep you hooked, maybe you'll be impressed by the level of detail put into each level. Every level feels different from each other, and they should because they pertain to the skill sets of each boss Maverick. Like the flying boss Storm Eagle takes control of the airport, while Armored Armadillo takes resources from deep underground, and Chill Penguin takes control of the Arctic region. What was their settings as Reploids now becomes their territory as Mavericks. This was also true for the original Mega Man, but I think X does a better job at really making them feel like different places. And with each level comes a song that really makes the level come alive, like the hardcore theme of Spark Mandrill stage, or the high intensity of Boomer Koenger's Tower. To even the chiller theme of Chill Penguin stage. Every one of these songs is an absolute work of art, and it's been one of my favorite OSTs of all time. Mega Man rarely misses in the soundtrack department, and Setsuo Yamamoto and the other composers for this game were no exception. While we're on the idea of level design, anyone who is a fan of Mega Man knows that following the pattern of boss weaknesses is usually the norm. But like so many other aspects of this game, Mega Man X encourages the player to try different combinations, and when one level is beaten, it can affect the condition of other levels in the game. Like if you take down Storm Eagle first, then Spark Mandrill stage gets trashed, and if you do beat Chill Penguin first, which I do, then Flame Mammoth stage gets frozen over. In fact, with the order I take, I'm way more used to the stage being frozen than not. Beating the Launch Octopus stage, flood Sting Chameleon's forest, and man, little changes like that are just what gets me so hyped about Mega Man X. It's just too cool.
It's strange to think how many ways there are to play this game. Whether you don't use any armor upgrades, you don't use any special moves, and you just go in with your Buster, that's a lot of replayability, which is strange for something that largely plays the same. Mega Man X's quality, fun, and great game design all rolled into one. And it's really no wonder that this is still my favorite game of all time, even now.
Every aspect of Mega Man X has stuck with me throughout my lifetime. With a soundtrack as good as X's, I can still recall every stage theme and who it belongs to. The story was a lot for me at a young age. I'll tell you, when you're the youngest of 3 brothers, you spend a lot of time watching games get played instead of getting to play them immediately. And watching my brother get to the part where Zero sacrifices himself, having that emotional scene, and then the music is just all like, no, wait, my 5-year-old brain isn't ready to process what just happened yet. Cut the cool ass music for a second. It's astounding just how much Mega Man X packed into its small little cartridge. Unique enemies, tons of sprite animation, fantastic music, peak level design, interesting characters, and a final boss battle that will have you on the edge. There isn't a single thing I find wrong with Mega Man X. There are just 2 things I find annoying. Namely this long hallway. Like, it sucks just because the walls are so far apart, and it's difficult not to just plummet all the way back to the bottom. And Sigma's one-on-one fight is pretty tedious and not very fun.
Are you ready, Mega Man, for my incredibly tedious moves? Where I just move back and forth and you hog the wall, and I just do this for like 2 minutes, and it's supposed to be really fun, but it's not really fun at all, actually. It's just I do this, and you do that, and I go back down here, and then we just repeat the process for far too long.
But if this is all I can find to complain about, then Mega Man X has truly done something wonderful. It is a game I feel will never be replaced in my heart as number 1. And if you've never played it, I encourage you to fix that now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching my video on my favorite game of all time, Mega Man X. Got a Mega Man game you like more? Let me hear it. Consider subscribing if you're new, and click that like button if you liked the video. Have a great day, play Mega Man X, and keep it practical.